Greetings! Here in the Southwest Oregon forest, in a little grove of these very familiar trees if you're an Oregon resident. That's right, these are Oregon myrtlewood. Not a true myrtle, they're actually a bay, and we all know that the leaves of this tree smell very pungently of bay. And it's because they actually are a California bay, and they are a member, actually, of the laurel family. So not a myrtlewood, actually a laurel. And so you might get a laurel of one of these around your head if you're a laureate. But besides being a show of honor on your head, it also does have a few uses. And if you're familiar with the sort of ethos of Always Ant's channel, if it's not useful, I kind of don't want to bother with it. Pretty to look at is nice, but what can it do for me? Is it medicine? Is it food? Well, apparently there are some medicinal benefits from this form of bay. There are various oils in the leaves that you can most definitely smell, very, very pungent. And those oils apparently can have some medicinal benefits. Apparently natives would use it for stomach problems, or maybe a poultice for arthritis, that sort of thing. Some pain relief, essentially, if you have an upset stomach. And you can technically eat the fruit, although personally I don't really care for it. I've got a few examples. It's July, so there's a few examples here I've got for you. Now, this tree, if you aren't familiar with it, is actually a relative of avocado. And these almost kind of look like young avocados in a way. And so very, very narrow window of edibility of these. And the outside really tastes like bay leaf. It's super strong. And so, I mean, for cooking, I would use maybe a quarter of the leaf or a half a leaf. And as far as eating, well, they say there's a stimulant aspect to it that's a little shorter lived than caffeine. I don't need that in my life. I'm more than high-strung enough. If you've watched the channel, I try to stay mellow if I can. But the inner of fruit is a little interesting. I've noticed the squirrels are cracking these open and eating only the inside. So let me be like a squirrel and crack one open with my mouth and see if we can... Oh, it is bitter. That is nasty. Very bitter. But it's kind of hard to see here in the sun. But there's this sort of, gushy inner sort of goo, slimy stuff, and it seems like if I can get it a little better, see that jelly-like substance. The squirrels seem to be going only for that. They don't seem to be eating the outer rind, and I don't blame them. That outer rind is nasty. It is bitter and harsh, but if you can see, there's this weird sort of jelly blob, and I've tried tasting it. It doesn't taste like anything, but this is kind of weird. But that's the fruit of your Oregon myrtle. It's something I wouldn't really bother with. But apparently you can eat it depending on the time of season when you do catch it. And when they're young, they look like these weird little sort of like baby pears or avocados or something. But the avocado family doesn't just include the bays. It also includes cinnamon. So this is a relative of cinnamon and avocado. And it's also a really, really popular wood, as we know in Oregon. It's a really dense hardwood. It almost tends to just sink when you throw it in the water. It doesn't want to float away, so no survival raft making out of the Oregon myrtlewood. But as far as culinary use, just use a little bit of the leaf. It should be fine. But there's very, very pungent oils. You can get smells of, pine and even lemon, and a version of this tree, they get camphor from the leaves. It's very, very pungent. You can smell it on a hot day. The forest out here just reeks like it. But the groves of myrtle are interesting. They're sort of mysterious. They remind me of an English wood. There's because the leaves have such volatile oils in them, it helps keep the understory from growing. But it's a very fascinating kind of forest in here. It's sort of shaded, and there's a lot of sort of branches down. I almost expect Robin Hood and his merry men to come leaping out from behind the bushes. Halt, who goes there? We've got a little mix of alders and ferns and a lot of nettles I keep getting in my poor little bare feet legs here. But one of the things you might notice about myrtles, I guess we could probably see a decent example over here, is even when they die or start to die, they start sending up all these little shoots and runners out from their base. And you can sort of see how there's little ones here coming up. And this tree here apparently is trying to, expand its reach a little bit with these. And some of these trees are just completely ringed by tons and tons of all these little sort of runners or shoots they're sending up. And if one falls down sideways, they'll grow straight up sort of 90-degree angle to downed limb. As you sort of see, this one is at a 45 and they're going straight up off of it. So it seems to sort of want to live, but it's also, the rotten branches seem to be very fragile and breaking a lot. You can hear me crunching around here. But it's a really interesting little location in the myrtle groves, sort of pretty and shaded, and that pungent smell of bay. It's really nice in here. It's cool and protected from the wind, which is nice because we're inland and it's a very windy day. But I think it's time to continue cruising around and exploring this interesting little wood in this myrtlewood grove. So definitely want to thank you very much for joining me for a quick moment to take a short look at a useful Oregon plant, myrtlewood.